Hello viewers, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we will explore the SAS SUBSTR function, a close cousin of SUBSTR, but with some important differences. If you are not already familiar with the regular SUBSTR function, I recommend checking out my other video first. In that video, I explain how SUBSTR works for both extraction as well as replacement. I will link it up here and in the description below. Once you have watched that, this video will make more sense. If you are a SAS programmer, clinical programmer, or a statistical programmer, you will definitely encounter situations where SUBSTRN is safer and more reliable than SUBSTR, especially when dealing with missing values, edge cases, or partial strings in clinical datasets. Now let's first understand the purpose of the SUBSTRN function. This function serves the same purpose as the SUBSTR function with a few added features. Unlike the SUBSTR function, the starting position and the length argument of the SUBSTR function can be 0 or negative without causing an error. In particular, if the length is 0, the function returns a string of 0 length. This is particularly useful when you are using regular expression functions where the length parameter may be 0, when a pattern is not found. You can use the SUBSTRN function in any application where you would use the SUBSTR function. The effect of 0 or negative parameters is discussed in the argument description. The next is the syntax of the SUBSTRN function. The syntax is the same as was for the SUBSTR, that is, after the call of the SUBSTRN function, in brackets we will give the first argument as the string from which we want to get the string or extract the part of the string. Then we will mention the starting position and then the length of the string that we want to extract. If the value of the starting position is non-positive, the function returns a substring starting from the first characters in character value. The length in this, that is the third argument in the SUBSTRN function, is the number of characters in the substring that we want to extract. If this value is non-positive, especially 0, the function returns a string of length 0. If this argument is omitted, the SUBSTR function will return all the characters from the start position to the end of the string. If a length has not been previously assigned, the length of the resulting variable will be the length of the character variable. That is the string or the first argument we have passed in the SUBSTRN call. Let's go through some examples to understand the SUBSTRN and SUBSTR functions differences. So first of all, here in the first example, I'm using a text string that is the patient underscore 12345, which is populated in the text variable, and this variable is being used in the SUBSTRN function call. The variable part1 is being created where we have mentioned the starting position as 9th position, and since we have not mentioned the length of the string which we want to fetch from the text variable, it will read from the 9th position of the string and it will read till the end. So in this case, part 1 will have the value as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now coming up on the part 2. If you notice here, the starting position is being mentioned as the value 20. Please observe that the text value, which is the patient underscore 12345, is not of the length 20. So if we would have you given a length of 20 as the starting position for SUBSTR function, it will throw an error in that call. But however, when we are using the SUBSTRN function instead of the SUBSTR and giving the same length, that is the length of the starting position as 20, it will return blank, but it will not throw an error. So in this way, you can notice that the SUBSTRN function is safer to use instead of the SUBSTR in such cases where we are giving the position which is longer than the length of the text value. Another example here is where we are using the visit value and we are applying the SUBSTR n function on the visit value to get populate the visit num. In this case, it will work as same as the SUBSTR function, and since we know that the SDTM variable visit num is a numeric variable, we have used the input function to convert the result of the SUBSTRN function, which will always be a character value, to a numeric format. So when we have applied the SUBSTRN on visit, where we are giving the starting position as 7, what it will do is it will read the value 5, but it will be a character value. So to convert it into a numeric format for visit num, we have applied the input function in this call. Another example is the example where we are again from a text value extracting a string which is neither from the starting neither from the end. That is an in between value we are extracting from a string. In here also what we have done is we have given a third argument, that is the length of the characters which we want to read from the starting position. So here the SUBSTRN is applied on the text variable which is having the value of visit underscore week underscore 10, and we have given a starting position as 7, and it from 7th position it will read the next 4 characters. So in this example, the 7th position is the position of the character value w. So the next 4 will variables will be, the next 4 characters will be read, and the result which will be captured in the week column will, or the week variable will be the value week here. This is again same as the SUBSTR function result. Now coming on the another example which we have again seen in the SUBSTR function call in my other video. Here also I'm using the same example, but if you see the variable which I'm creating, which is the variable extra, here again what I am trying to show here is that when you are applying when you are giving a starting position which is greater than the length of the string, the SUBSTRN function will return a blank and will avoid an error message, whereas if you would have given the same value in SUBSTR function, it would have given an error message. So from these example, what we can say is that SUBSTR might crash or give invalid results in some cases, whereas the SUBSTRN will safely return the blank values. Now let's understand the key differences between the SUBSTR and the SUBSTRN function. The SUBSTR function, if the starting position is greater than the length of the string, it might return blank or it might even result in error messages. Whereas the SUBSTRN function, if the starting or the length position is invalid or out of range, it will always return blank and it will not give an error while executing. In case of SUBSTR, if length parameter is negative or invalid, it will always return error. Whereas the SUBSTRN function is more reliable in this case, especially when the data is messy. Another point to note here is that the SUBSTRN function cannot be used for replacement, which is a very good example or a very good feature for the SUBSTR function, which can be used when we want to assign or change a particular value from a particular variable. We can use the SUBSTR on the left side of the equality sign as a replacement, and it will work as a replacement function. SUBSTRN is strictly for extraction purposes only. Now let's see a few of the interview questions that can be asked based on the SUBSTR or the SUBSTRN functions. The first one is what's the difference between the SUBSTR and SUBSTRN function. The SUBSTR can extract and replace but may cause errors. SUBSTRN extracts only and safely handles out of range values. The next question can be, when would you prefer SUBSTRN over SUBSTR? When working with unpredictable data lengths, examples USUBJID, adverse event terms, or messy CRF entries, it is always recommended that we use the SUBSTRN function instead of the SUBSTR because of the feature that the SUBSTRN will always return a safe value and will not throw an error. Can SUBSTRN modify a string? No, it can only be used for extraction. If you want to modify a string, then you will have to use the SUBSTR function in the replacement format. That is, you have to use the SUBSTR on the left hand side of the equality sign to make any sort of replacement in a string. So that's all for the SUBSTRN function, a safer, more reliable version of the SUBSTR, especially when you want to extract the substrings. It won't let your code break or on out of range conditions, which makes it especially valuable in clinical trial programming where data can be incomplete or inconsistent. If you want to understand the replacement power of SUBSTR, don't miss my video on SUBSTR. The link is given in the description box. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more SAS tutorials, specially designed for clinical and statistical programmer. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Let me know in comments if you want me to cover any specific topic.